I'll come back to that here in a minute. But it was a police officer from my county. Well, he claimed he was a police officer from my county, local county sheriff's department, and that I had a failure to appear in a court summons for jury duty for a capital murder case or something like that. And so, because of the nature of the case, that it was supposed to be. Oh, I need to get my microphone up. So, it was a failure to appear at as a juror, and that, well, now I'm going to get fined. And it always did seem just a little off. The guy was constantly isolating me from actually talking to people, trying to keep me on. And basically, he was walking me through, this is the case number, this is how much you're going to get fined. And it was kind of scary, and that I could be potentially arrested. And you think to yourself, oh, failure to report for jury duty, you might be arrested. I know a guy who was arrested for failure to appear on jury duty and was hauled down to the court system. So it was within the realm of possibility. But as he was going through it, small little cracks were showing up. At first it was delivered through registered mail, the jury summons, and you had to actually sign it. And his whole shtick was that basically I had to put up a bond so that I wouldn't be arrested, and then I can go down to the police station to be able to verify my signature and to the whatever registered mail. And then after a while, he's saying, yeah, it was delivered by FedEx. Court system's not going to deliver anything through FedEx. They're going to use the USPS mail system to be able to do any of this. And so it was very interesting. Just the little small cracks. And then after a while, I started calling him out. I'm like, this really sounds like a scam. And he's like, oh, no, no, this is no scam. I assure you, I will have my supervisor call you, and it will come up as the police station on your caller ID. And I was like, oh, that could be faked. He's like, yeah, but we'll have your personal information, like your social security number and stuff like that. And like, first of all, you should not have my social security number. And second of all, that information was stolen years ago. So I think everyone and their mother has my social security number by now because of all of these data leaks that's been going on. And it's like, I'm just gonna call the police station, and I'm going to verify with my wife's phone. And he's like, no, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I'm like, this is really sounding like a scam. And by the grace of God, basically the call just dropped. And so I called my local police station, and they're like, yeah, that pretty much sounds like a scam, but I'll just have an officer call you just in case, just to make sure everything's up and up. And I listened, waited, and officer called and is like, yeah, it's really weird. I had a woman coming in with the exact scam talking to me about it as I'm getting the call about yours. And so it's this brand new, I guess, scam that's going through. And it's that these artists, they're getting the scam artists, they're getting really good at finding little, refining their script, finding ways to be able to make it seem more and more realistic. You just have to be vigilant and always verify. It is not a bad thing to call and verify. If someone's calling you, you don't know where that call coming from. And so always be like, well, I'm going to call you. I'm going to look up the legitimate phone number and call them back. And now, when I said the number was unverified, blocked number or something like that, law enforcement agencies, they used blocked numbers. My dad, he was a prison guard, and whenever he had to call me from the prison, he always came up as unregistered number or blocked number. So they have ways to explain away these little things. So keep vigilant and always verify. Always verify. Don't take a call coming in at face value. It's scary out there. But let's go and let's do a little bit of news. I'm going to share my screen. All right, first up, a new study from Workday reveals serious federal finance teams face uh, serious risks to federal finance teams face. Oh man, that was written badly. Um, Basically, these teams are working with outdated systems. The report titled Future Ready for Finance indicates that a startling 80% of senior finance leaders in federal agencies lack the necessary visibility to manage financial risks effectively. This offers a cautionary tale for small business owners who are also struggling with financial compliancy and efficiency. Many finance teams waste a significant number of hours, about one third of their workload, on manual data management, taking time away from strategic planning and customer engagement. For small businesses, adopting a modern automated financial, using modern financial tools can not only save time but also enhance profitability. The report found that nearly 55% of financial leaders often shared outdated financial reports, which can lead to poor decision making, although over half of rated their system as effective for planning. The efficiency drops during execution, increasing the risks of errors in financial audits, particularly tough for smaller businesses with limited resources. Yet there is hope. Federal finance leaders believe that modernizing financial systems, especially through cloud and AI technologies, can greatly improve accuracy and efficiency. Um, an impressive 96% expect such upgrades to boost operational readiness for audits. Eh, I mean, government systems are always a little laggy when it comes to modernizing, and small businesses should really look at modernizing their financial systems. One of the best ways is just looking within the tools that you use. If you're using QuickBooks, look into automated ways to be able to take the information from QuickBooks and to be able to run reports quicker, faster. Learning those ways to get information out of the tools that you already have is the best way that you're going to do to be able to move forward. Even tools such as Excel are bringing in AI. Copilot, I know that it gets kind of a bad rap, but if you can use it to be able to glean better information out of your systems, out of your tools, uh, it's it can't be too bad. The most future proof job, entrepreneurship. I got to say this in like the movie voice. In a world where traditional jobs are declining, new data from Shopify shows that more people are turning to entrepreneurship. With economic challenges affecting conventional job markets, there's been a dramatic rise in individuals starting their own businesses. Since 2018, the number of new merchants on Shopify has increased sevenfold, reflecting a strong interest in self employment as many seek stability amid job cuts, including 1.2 million layoffs in the US in 2025 due to advances in AI technology. Shopify's analysts reveal that seasoned entrepreneurs often do better than first time founders, earning over double the sales with their second business, thanks to skills and insights gained from their initial ventures. This suggests that prior experience in business can help improve performance in future endeavors. Additionally, small businesses that began between 2017 and 2020 saw a 25% growth in average sales from 2022 to 2025. largely due to the e-commerce market growth, which has risen 14% over 20% of the total retail sales. However, while entrepreneurs may appear more accessible today thanks to new tools and technology, competition is also increasing in the e commerce space. As the landscape shifts, small business owners should remain aware of both the opportunity and the challenges. So, yeah, being your own entrepreneur, I mean, it's not necessarily what I would call the future proof um, job because businesses fail all the time, especially restaurants. They don't. It's hit or miss on whether or not a restaurant is going to continue to stay. As long as you got a good customer base coming in, yeah, you should be able to stay on top. But one bad hit, and oftentimes a restaurant can't survive those kind of situations. But you have this story from Shopify about people coming in more and more, and yeah, you could definitely make money. It's a lot of work, but it is a possible thing, and it's also a really good side hustle to be able to sell something on the side while you're doing your main job and build something while I was saying it was over time. It took time to be able to grow those things, and you can't just pop up a store and just immediately sell things. So I'm not the most in love with this concept because it's a lot of hard work and you're not going to just start making money right off the bat. But I do think that becoming your own business owner is a way to be able to future proof your success. And it just depends on the venture that you're going to do. If you're selling online, you're one in a million people selling the same candle. If you're a local person starting up your own lawn care business, you're maybe one in 10 companies in your area. And so the competition pool is a little bit less. So it just, for me, it depends. All right. Got news from the NFIB. The NFIB Small Business Optimism Index has dropped 3 points in March, landing at 95.8, which is below the historical average of 98. This decrease marks the first time since April of 2025 that the index has fallen below this important benchmark. The increase in uncertainty among small business owners has also risen sharply, leaving many feeling uneasy about the future. There's a lot to feel uneasy about in these days, especially when we're at war. We do got peace talks now. Hopefully, I'm seeing some good marks. The S&P 500, I think recently closed at its highest. So there are some good indications, and this is back in March. So when the war was in full bloom. So take this with a grain of salt because it is kind of old data. Chief economicist Bill Dunklenberg pointed out that while some tax breaks have helped, rising oil prices have seriously impacted both consumer and business owners. Many small businesses are struggling to cover higher costs and are passing these on to customers. Key indicators paint a grim picture. Profit trends are down significantly, and expectations for better business conditions have also sharply declined. In employment news, the employment index has slightly decreased, and fewer businesses plan to raise wages in the coming months. There are also a noticeable drop in capital investments, with only 16% of owners looking to spend on equipment or upgrades. More than half of small business owners feel their businesses are in good shape, but only 13% of their situation rate their situation as excellent. So, I mean, there's a lot of going on in the world, and oil prices are a big factor. That raises gas prices, which means transportation costs are going to go up, which means the cost of getting a product is going to go up. That's inevitable. So it's all about what's going to be happening probably within the next month. We are in the middle of peace talks, and so this was back in March again. So we are in the middle of peace talks. So hopefully we get some good news. LinkedIn's 2026 Graduation Index Guide. LinkedIn has revealed its 2026 Grad Guide, which offers valuable insight for small business owners and young entrepreneurs. With 44% of Gen Z struggling to find entry level jobs due to limited connections, this guide emphasizes the importance of networking for career success. Notably, 21% of Gen Zs are creating their own opportunities by starting side businesses, reflecting a rise in entrepreneurial spirit. It's also reported that entry level positions have dropped by 6% from last year, although specific sectors like tech and finance still show growth potential. Interestingly, 72% of young office workers are considering a shift to skilled trades, suggesting a change in how they view job security. Small businesses need to provide these trades as fulfilling career paths by offering competitive salary and training opportunity. The guide highlights a new AI driven job search feature on LinkedIn that can streamline recruitment, helping businesses to connect with stable candidates. It is a tough job market out there, and AI is gobbling up a lot of these entry level positions because it is a lot of busy work that is happening. And yes, the tech sector is one of those that isn't necessarily affected as much. I would imagine that stuff like engineering, architecture, those types of positions are going to be relatively safe, but I don't know how safe anything is from this AI monster that could potentially gobble up any kind of jobs. I didn't think, 5 years ago that we could potentially have a technology that is like getting rid of potentially writers or coders or anything like that. Um, but here we are. So who knows what the next 5 years are going to bring when it comes to uh, the idea of getting skilled trades. I'm always in favor of going down that road. Skilled workers can make a ton of money. I've got a cousin. He does he works for a gas company. It's a natural gas refining company, and he monitors gauges. He makes well into the 100,000 mark for monitoring gas gauges. He does like I think it's like 12-hour shifts, like for a week on, week off. So it's hard work, but he makes a lot of money. He doesn't have a college degree, and he's making more money than I've ever made with a college degree. So it's skilled labor is out there, and you know, ditch the college route and go right into electrician, and you could be making somewhere around 80K. It's not a bad path to go down. What's your gasoline? What's in what's in your gasoline? So, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has decided to ease some summer gasoline regulations to help lower the prices at the pump. This change mainly affects small business owners, especially those in retail, transportation, and manufacturing. The new rules will relax federal summer read vapor pressure standards RVP, which normally dictate the formulation of gasoline based on air quality and location. The goal of this change is to boost the domestic fuel supply and provide relief for consumers as many small businesses rely heavily on fuel for transportation. This could lead to lower operating costs. Business owners might find that reduced fuel prices allow them to save money, which they could invest in their companies or lower prices. However, the effects may not be uniform across the country. Some regions, like California, have stricter gasoline regulations that could mean higher prices for businesses there. Moreover, fluctuation in gasoline prices could be unpredictable, influenced by global oil prices and seasonal demand, meaning that any savings could potentially be temporary. This is a good tactic to be able to potentially save a little bit of money, but it might just be that a little bit of money for your business. Um, but any kind of savings is any kind of savings that you can get. That's what I would be going after. But yeah, California is one of those states that heavily regulate gas, and it's to the point where you're starting to see situations where gas prices are getting up to like $7, $8 a gallon over there. Um, so I guess if you're in California, head over to Oregon, Nevada, Arizona to get your gas, unless you're on the coast. All right, let's get into some deals. We have here a Shark AI cleaning robot. It says 50% off, but when I looked at the price history, it's about $150 off, not $300 off, but still $150 off for one of these AI Shark robots. It's pretty good. My mother-in-law's got one of these. It does a really good job of cleaning up, and talked with the sale support system because hers was not working, and they helped me really well to figure out what the problem was when it was broken. And even though the part was not in warranty, they did offer to ship me um, uh, the part for free. I had to pay for the shipping, and so I just got something off of Amazon for really cheap. But still, it was a very helpful customer service, and I recommend. Next up, this is from Woot.com. They have their big tool sale, and this really kind of a good idea when it comes to maybe even starting a business. Finding these tools that are big and they're on sale. One is a stump grinder for $760. Uh, Plate compactor, being able to get a couple of these tools and then making yourself as, hey, you need to do some compacting of soil, I got you. Or you partner up with a tree cutting business and be like, hey, I've got the stump grinder. I will grind down the stump for $100 or something to that effect. Hey, it's a good opportunity. All right. Now we're on to the Reddit stories. Our first one comes from Babbing Baby. Babbing Baby? Accountant called today and said I owe over $130,000 in tax. He answered the phone by saying, "You had a good year. Now for the bad news. I'm in a bit of a sticker shock right now. Knew it was coming, but kind of forgot that the deadline was tomorrow for tax payment. This is the first year I've had profit like this, so I'm just not mentally ready to have to shift around cash and loan draws tomorrow to make this payment within 24 hours. It'll be fine. I'm proud of how the business did, but damn, I am not ready to shell out $130,000. Yep, the better that you do, the more taxes that you owe. And one thing you might want to look at, and your tax guy has probably already told you that, but if you're making this much money to the point where you're shelling out $130,000 in taxes, you may need to look at like an S corp. I know that that can really reduce your tax burden. Also, do quarterly payments. Check out. I know if you're doing QuickBooks, it will have a little section saying what is my tax estimated liability based off of everything that's come in and everything that's come out, and from there you pay them in quarterly increments. And so instead of $130,000, you're shelling out $40,000, $50,000 per quarter, which allows you to be able to get that money out quicker, and not have to worry about loans or moving money around. It's just there, and you go and you pay it. But yeah, $130,000. Congratulations on making probably somewhere in the field of like what, $500,000. That I'm probably even lowballing that. That might be six or $700,000, but yeah, congratulations on making a ton of money. Now go pay your taxes, or all hell's gonna break loose. Has the world become more unpleasant to do business since COVID? This comes from Grumpy Old Man 10. I'm a landlord and I remodeled and a remodeler. I spent my career in sales before leaving my job about 4 years ago to be self-employed. I'm not a big business, no employees, 36 tenants, and I'm typically working on two or three active remodel projects at a time. So I don't, so I know part of this business I'm in. But I'm also doing this for more than 20 years now. My question to do with what I perceive the largest increase in the amount of BS I have to manage about as a business owner. Not one thing. For me, it's dealing with homeless, theft, vandalism, squatters. It's dealing with insurance problems, municipal employees that don't seem to give a damn. It's been problems dealing with difficult tenants, vendors, and even the families of deceased tenants. I saw dealing with I saw dealing with really difficult situations that just keep dragging on. I've had to use the legal system so much that the last 5 years just to get business done. Not even talking about evictions, the random stuff that I've just never had to deal with before. Right now, it's a subcontractor for a residential tenant of mine who filed a mechanics lien against my property, despite the fact that I've never heard of them, used them for anything, and as far as I'm aware, they've never been to my address or done any work for me. Yet I now got to get a lawyer who's trying to fight them on the mechanics lien, and it's a legal department for some big company that couldn't give two craps. Really, I'm just hoping to hear from some other small business owner. I'm trying to decide if I need to start running my business differently or just find something else to do. Is there light at the end of the tunnel and I'm just in the dark period, or is this a permanent change in society? Yep, permanent change in society. Even in my industry, I get these grifters, these people who are trying to steal from me. Um, I use stock photos. I'm not going to use stock photos anymore. I used them in the past. I'm using AI generated images. And before you're like, oh, that's taking money away from these photographers. They're the ones that are sicking these companies on me saying, "Oh, you're using this image and it's copywritten." Yeah, because I purchased that image. And so now I have to spend time, money to prove that I purchased that image. And if there's any small crack, they'll try to force their way through it just to get that $1,000 or $2,000 off of me. I've gotten so many letters from lawyers because of this. Any industry that you're in, you're going to get the people trying to grift off of you. It's an unfortunate fact of life. Um, and that's the downside of being an entrepreneur. You're a target because you're making money. You're making money the honest way, and people are just kind of scummy and they want to be able to steal that money from you, and they try to use legal means to be able to do that. If it's too much of an issue, I mean, if you are a grumpy old man, you might think about selling your property to a developer who's got a bunch of lawyers that on retainer, just on staff, that can fight all of this stuff to their heart's content, and then live off your life in Cancun. Owning a yoga Pilates studio isn't actually profitable. I keep seeing studios open and then close within a year or two, so I'm wondering if this is actually a profitable business or not. Is there something most people are missing, or is it just really tough industry to survive in? Especially curious of how much it comes down to memberships and keeping people consistent. Yoga is one of those things that it's for certain people. So you gotta figure out if the area that you're going to be doing a yoga studio, if there's a lot of people. So do a little bit of market research. That's what I would first tell you. Get on the marketplaces in the area, put out feelers, that kind of situation. But also think about doing something a little different. And what I would say, and one that I saw that was really successful in the way that they did it, is that they made their studio, they had their classes, but when there was time available in between classes, they rented out the studio to other people to do other types of classes. So it's not just yoga, but then you have Janet who's doing Zumba, you have Fran who's doing Pilates, you're doing, you have other people who are doing their class, and then you take 30%, 50% so that they can rent the studio. They're in charge of finding their own customers, and you have to, you could set minimum requirements. Oh, you've got to be able to bring in this much money or something like that. Because if you're not doing it, then I've got Alice over here who really wants to start a class on this, and Alice has a pretty good following. That's the way that I would go about it if it were me and I were starting up a studio. I would bring in a whole bunch of other people who can then bring in their own customers, kind of like a salon. I need your expertise. Recently formed a plumbing company and have no pressure to spend thousands on marketing. My goal is to build a community of customers near my home. I want to take care of people and be a nearby trusted professional. Anyone have any advice on offer from a service business perspective? What can I do to build my desired community? Um, get on Facebook, answer questions that come up in the local community, have like alerts when someone's asking about plumbing that you are notified so that you can immediately zip up and be able to answer any questions or even recommend yourself. But you also might want to consider working with other um, side industry, adjacent industries, construction, electrician, tiling, like general contractors or something like that. That way you can become that go-to. That's where you're going to probably see a lot of your business come from. It's like you got Frank, and Frank's a electrician, but some plumbing work needs to be done too while he's in there. And he's like, hey, go give Joe a call. He can actually fix this up. You got a little bit of a leak here when he does his investigating. Or house builders or renovation, like general contractors who are doing X, Y, and Z, but they need a professional plumber to be able to do all of the plumbing work. They're going to call you. When it comes to building a community, maybe make your own Facebook group for your local community and be able to have contractor questions and then bring in those other partners and be like, hey, I need an electrician, I need a general contractor. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a Facebook group. We're going to be the admins where people can ask questions and we can answer them and become that authority in their life. And then also make your own page, show the work that you do and show, hey, yeah, I just got a customer and they had a leaky faucet and this is what I did. Or, oh boy, this is what the damage of a bad pipe can do over time. Those kinds of things. That way it's a little local and it just shows a little bit of content and what you do and the value that you bring. That is all I got for you today. If you liked this, show, give it a thumbs up. If you're coming by this just on pure chance, hit that subscribe button. And if at any point I said something that you disagreed with, I want to hear it in the comment section. Thank you. You have yourself a good week, and I'll see you